I'm Anita Marks. You see me all over ESPN, and I am launching my own new show, and it's called On the Mark with Anita Marks, and of course, that is me. It is brought to you by 500 Level, Live Like a Legend. We're really excited about it. Each and every week, we're going to be dropping a podcast, digital show, all the things. Make sure you, of course, subscribe and follow the podcast On the Mark with Anita Marks, however you consume your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, all the ways. Also, check us out on YouTube. You can find us on the YouTube channel, On the Mark Show. So make sure you do that. The show itself, commentary, analysis, talking about the hot topics each and every week, bringing you some of the best guests out there in sports, and then ending it with a little, I like to call it a green bow, because we always want to be in the green. We never want to be in the red. And ending it with how you can go to the window and how you can wager on some of the hot topics out there in sports. And again, big shout out to our sponsor, 500 Level. You see me on ESPN wearing my 500 Level t-shirts each and every week. So, of course, why not have them be our title sponsor for our inaugural show here on the Mark. And 500 Level, what do? They immortalize the legends of the game with iconic original graphic tees, 500 Levels custom t-shirts. What they do is they typically print next day, and of course they ship directly to your home. So sign up for fan points and begin earning on every purchase. And it's not just, right now I've got Caleb Williams with his fingernails, but not only is it just the NFL, it's Major League Baseball, it's MLS, NBA, NHL, and of course, Major League Baseball season is about to tee off. So make sure you get those t-shirts. That's going to be fun. And they have them all, even UFC as well as WWE. So shop at 500level.com. And here's another thing for you. If you use my code, and that's Marks20, MARKS20, you get 20% off. So make sure you do that. 500 Level, live like a legend. All right. With that being said, let's dive into what is the hottest topic this week. Of course, it's NFL free agency, and let's do a deep dive into what has happened with the quarterback position. So, as we know, Sam Darnold goes to the Seattle Seahawks, signs a 3-year, $100.5 million contract. Seattle needs some better offensive line help. Here's the thing with Sam Darnold. Kevin O'Connell, to me, was the straw that stirred that drink. I think when a quarterback goes to a situation like Sam Darnold did in Minnesota, solid offensive line, arguably one of the top wide receivers in the NFL in Justin Jefferson, solid rushing attack, solid defense, let alone a head coach who's offensive minded, who I think we can call Kevin O'Connell a quarterback whisperer. Heck, I hope that Sam Darnold pays Kevin O'Connell 10% of the $100 million he's making from the Seattle Seahawks, because I don't think that he would have gotten that contract if he would not have gone to Minnesota and played under Kevin O'Connell in that system. I think it benefited him to a T. Will he have the same success in Seattle? I think not. He doesn't have a great offensive line. DK Metcalf is not there anymore, and he's not going to have the weapons to work with. So I think Sam Darnold's going to take a step back. Justin Fields going to the Jets, a 2-year, $40 million contract. Listen, if you listen to me on radio, you know how I feel about Justin Fields. I want him on my fantasy team, but I don't want him quarterbacking my football team. Sorry, Jets fans, I just don't. He's not accurate. He does not throw wide receivers open. And when I talk to scouts about quarterbacks who they feel have that it factor, okay, I love it. I'm going to steal a phrase from Michael Lombardi. He calls it the crib factor. You're born with it. And Justin Fields, unfortunately, was not. And there's some things that if you're not born with, you can't teach. And unfortunately, I think that's the issue with Justin Fields. Amazing athlete, is going to extend plays for you. He's going to be electric. He's going to be fun. He's going to rush for over 100 yards each and every game. But is he going to win games for you? No, because he's just not accurate enough. He's going to throw interceptions, and he's not going to be able to move the chains. So I just don't think it's a really good signing for the Jets if they want to try to win more ball games than they did last year. Daniel Jones going to the Colts. Oh, I do like this. 1-year, $14 million deal. Will he start over Anthony Richardson? I say heck to the yeah, he does. Anthony Richardson is so bad. Should never have been drafted where he was. Did not have the experience in Florida. Did not have the reps underneath him. And same situation in regards to Justin Fields, right? Like, uber athlete, will run the ball a lot, but just doesn't process extremely fast and does not throw wide receivers open, doesn't throw the ball much, runs the ball a lot. And when you have a quarterback like that, it's easier for defenses to defend. So if the Colts want to win some football games, I think they need to turn to Daniel Jones. And I know this is a hot take because I will die on the Daniel Jones mountain because I feel like the Giants sold him a bag of lemons, not once, not twice, but every single season he was here. Never gave him a great offensive line to play behind. Never gave him a ton of weapons to work with. And then, of course, his last year here, they can't even agree to a deal with Saquon Barkley. Not that Saquon Barkley would have made a difference with the Giants' offensive line that they had on the field, but nonetheless, I think the reason Daniel Jones failed miserably in New York is because of the Giants. And unfortunately, I think it really screwed with his head. And maybe Steichen in the Colts, a new offense, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, a better offensive line, easier division to play in. Maybe that's exactly what the doctor orders for Daniel Jones to really reach his true potential. And I'm not sitting here telling you that Daniel Jones is the end-all, be-all, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But I do believe that he can slide in with his full potential somewhere around 15, on a good day, 17, no lower than 20, in the right situation, a good fit, and a good coach. And I think that's what Steichen is, and I think hopefully that's what he can find in Indianapolis, of course, if he can win the starting job, which I think he does. And then, of course, Geno Smith being traded to the Raiders, which is really, the Raiders organization is very, it's wild to me, right? You've got Tom Brady, who's making the calls, right? He's now making the decisions, yet works for Fox. So there's a conflict of interest there, which is really interesting in regard to how he's able to broadcast certain games, what he can and cannot say, how he prepares, which is interesting. And then you bring in Pete Carroll, who I have immense respect for, but is like pushing 80. So with a league that's trying to go younger and hipper with their coaching hires, brings in Pete Carroll. Now, I know he loves Geno Smith like a son, so that dynamic could be fruitful. And then they bring in Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator, who failed miserably with the Eagles. It's a weird bag. And I just, with not a ton of weapons, Brock Bowers, which, by the way, if there's one storyline out of Geno Smith making his way to the Raiders, is he's the best quarterback play that they have had in quite a while. And the season that Brock Bowers had this past year, surpassing Puka, breaking a number of records, one would assume that going into his second year with Geno Smith, a better quarterback under center, really, there is no ceiling for Brock Bowers. So this is a fantasy football, I guess, discussion to have, and that is Brock Bowers now become a first-round draft pick in fantasy football this year? We will definitely dive into that in the near future, you can guarantee. But, this is the landscape right now, and I think it's important that we let you know we are recording this podcast, this digital show, on Wednesday. So there's a good chance that Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers find a home by the time that we air this, either late on Wednesday night or early on Thursday morning, just FYI. And so obviously that will change the landscape as well. But very interesting in regard to what has happened in the landscape of the quarterback situation. So Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, Gardner Minshew, to name a few that are still out there and available for teams. Interesting to see, what do the Pittsburgh Steelers do? What do the Giants do? Those are the two teams most in need right now for a quarterback. In regard to running backs, for me, the biggest storyline is Najee Harris going to the Chargers. I think this is huge for him. Harbaugh loves to run the football, establish the run, help your quarterback with play action. Justin Herbert had a phenomenal year last year, especially towards the end of the season. I think he picks up where he leaves off, especially with Najee Harris in that backfield. I love that signing. So that's pretty cool. Javonte Williams going to the Cowboys, a 1-year, $3 million contract. That's interesting to me as well, because the Cowboys did not have a running game last year. And so could Javonte Williams be it? Can he stay healthy? But for me, the biggest storyline is Najee Harris going to the Chargers. As for the wide receivers, I mean, obviously, you want to talk about the trades that went down, right? DK going to the Steelers, waiting to see who's going to be throwing him the ball. I think that's going to be key. Deebo Samuel going to the Commanders. Can't wait to see him on the field with Terry McLaurin. That's going to be sick. Christian Kirk going to the Texans. I find that to be interesting because we saw CJ Stroud take a step back last year. Does he take another step forward in his third year in the NFL? T. Higgins, franchise tag by the Bengals. His mommy was not happy, if you, of course you're following that storyline. Godwin re-signing with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think that's smart. Devontae Adams going to the Rams along with Puka. I ask you, podcasters, do you feel that Devontae Adams and Puka are the best wide receiver duo in the NFL? Comment. I'm curious because they just might be. I mean, you could argue T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, maybe, but I think that's a really good and fun argument to have, maybe in some local watering hole here in New York City while you're sipping on a beer. But I'm curious, do you feel that Devontae Adams and Puka are the best 1-2 punch wide receiver duo in the NFL? Please comment. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. Josh Palmer going to the Bills, helping Josh Allen. Marquise Brown re-signs with the Chiefs. DeAndre Hopkins going to the Ravens. Ravens trying to find as much help for Lamar Jackson as possible. That's for sure. So just wanted to share, and I know I'm recapping what has happened the last 2 or 3 days in NFL free agency, but specifically on the offensive side of the ball, which we like to talk about offense more than we like to talk about defense, just because it's more fun and also a lot you could wager on. So with that being said, let's dive into the top stories that I think have now materialized because of free agency. And let's start first and foremost with the Washington Commanders. Like I said, they bring in Deebo Samuel. He's going to be playing alongside Terry McLaurin. And they arguably go out and get one of the best top 3. I think we can agree top 3 left tackles in Tunsil. A few things. Deebo Samuel ranked 3rd among wide receivers in yards after the catch per reception, a little over 8. We know Jane Daniels is just unbelievable, right? Like what he was able to do last season, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was just absolutely amazing. You add this type of talent to the offense, along with, and we're assuming, right, you put Tunsil at left tackle, more protection on the offensive line. Dare I say Commanders win the NFC East, and you could wager that on ESPN bet at 2-1. You know what? I'm going to go to the window on that. I'm riding off Dallas. I just have not been, with all due respect, just not a really big Dak Prescott fan. Of course, on the field, don't know him off. But I'm just not sold on Dak Prescott. I feel like if he doesn't have a 100-yard rusher each and every game, he's losing football games. Go look at the stats. They're true. The Giants, they don't even know who their quarterback is. So obviously, I think this is going to be some tough sledding for the Giants. And have you look at their schedule? I want to say they're playing like 9 teams that made it to the playoffs last year, which is ridiculous. Their schedule is it's unbelievable, unbelievably difficult and bad. And then of course you're sitting there going, well, wait a minute, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, Anita. Why are you're writing off the Eagles? Here's why I'm writing off the Eagles. It was like on the defensive side of the ball, it was a purge, right? Williams is gone, Sweat is gone. Those two, Williams and Sweat, get this, combined for 4.5 sacks in the Super Bowl, their win against the Kansas City Chiefs. One could make an argument, and not to take anything away from Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts was amazing, but one could make an argument that without Williams and Sweat, Eagles don't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, I want to say Sweat received some MVP votes in the Super Bowl. On top of that, Darius Slay now, he's gone. He's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know Eagles fans, you're saying, well, in Howie we trust. And I get it. And you absolutely should, because to me, Howie amazes me each and every year what he's able to do. Could this be a situation where Howie and the Eagles are like, okay, we won the Super Bowl. It's really difficult in this day and age with free agency and all the things to be a dynasty. like we saw the Patriots be a dynasty a few years ago, of course, with Tom Brady. So we won a Super Bowl. So now it's time for us to be competitive in our division, but maybe take a step back and prepare for maybe 2006, 2026, 2027. Chances are they're going to get 2 third-round supplemental picks from losing Williams and losing Sweat in free agency. So there's that. And gear up. There's an ebb and flow to a season. There's an ebb and flow to an organization trying to stay competitive and having the perfect elixir of being able to do that is drafting well and then sprinkling in and using your free agent dollars and money wisely on players. And I think that's really what makes Howie and the Philadelphia Eagles so great. So I think the Eagles take a step back this year. I think Howie is looking at the landscape and saying, okay, we won a Super Bowl. Now this gives us some time to be good, not bad, not mediocre, but competitive. But maybe we don't go into this season balls to the wall expecting to win the Super Bowl this year. That's why I am all in on the Commanders, and I love them at 2-1. So love Washington, fading the Philadelphia Eagles. Another storyline here is the 49ers. Are the 49ers doing the same thing that the Eagles are doing and pushing that reset button? You know, sometimes I think we forget all the 49ers gave up to move up to go get Trey Lance, who, what is he doing right now? Holding a clipboard, at least last year, holding a clipboard in Dallas. Couldn't even make the field. Cooper Rush started over Trey Lance. So that was a huge swing and miss, but the 49ers gave up so many draft picks to go up and get, I think, really, they went up to go get Mac Jones, and then that's a whole nother storyline. Ended up with Trey Lance. But then found a diamond in the rough in Brock Purdy. But I think Brock Purdy is a quarterback of the system, and that's Kyle Shanahan and the system, and having a great offensive line and a healthy C-Mac and all the weapons to work with Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and all the things. If Brock Purdy doesn't have that, there's no way 31 teams passed on Brock Purdy 7 times for him to be Mr. Irrelevant, that now you've got a 49ers team who really are going to be on the hook, and I'm sure his camp is demanding at least $40 million a year. I would not pay that. I would not pay that. So really interesting to see what happens with the 49ers. 11 players out the door in free agency, some starters, some providing some really good depth for them. So I'm fading the 49ers, and how can you not love what the Rams did, right? They said, listen, we are going to run it back. Don't know what's happening with the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. There's a chance that he could very well be traded, right? You've got Seattle with Sam Darnold. Don't think he's going to have as much success in Seattle as he did in Minnesota. The 49ers are in this situation. Again, a huge purge on both the offense and defense. So this is a perfect opportunity for Sean McVay and the Rams. So bring Matthew Stafford back, re-up him, go out, bring in Devontae Adams, put him alongside Puka Nacua. They've got a lot of talent on that offense. I think this is the Rams' year. And by the way, you could wager that the Rams win their division, win the NFC West at plus 190. That's another wager. That's another futures bet I've already gone to the window on. I think this is the year for the Rams to win that division, so I'm fading the 49ers along with the Eagles. I'm loving the Commanders, and I'm loving the Rams. So those are my top storylines after, again, 2 or 3 days of NFL free agency. We've got some great guests lined up for you. So first and foremost, hang tight. I want to share with you, again, our very special sponsor, and that is 500 Level. Live like a legend. 500 Level immortalizes the legends of the game with iconic original graphic tees. 500 Level's custom t-shirts typically print next business day and ship directly to your home. Sign up for fan points and begin earning on every purchase, not just NFL. And again, I'm wearing the Caleb Williams today on this podcast, but MLS, MLB, NBA, NHL, also UFC and WWE. Shop 500level.com now. And make sure you use my code, and that is Marks20 for 20% off. 500 Level, live like a legend. Without further ado, let's bring in the wonderful, fabulous Mike Clay from ESPN. Brought to you by none other than 500 Level, Live Like a Legend, because we know Mike Clay lives like a legend. So Mike, free agency frenzy, let's dive right into it. You're here to talk about some prop bets with us. First and foremost, let's start with Daniel Jones. He's going to the Colts. He signs a 1-year, $14 million deal. Does he beat out Anthony Richardson for the starting job in Indianapolis? I say he does. I can't wait to see the offense with him and Steichen, of course, the head coach slash offensive guru genius. Do you think Daniel Jones wins the starting job over Anthony Richardson?
I think you might disagree with me on this, Anita, but I'm going to say no, at least initially. I think Anthony Richardson gets the first shot at this job. If he struggles and blows it, Jones will get an opportunity. Look, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks in recent years, have that high pedigree, early first-round picks, and then kind of turn it on. Baker Mayfield. Geno Smith obviously has done it. Last year, Sam Darnold. Maybe Daniel Jones is next, but also maybe Anthony Richardson is next if he kind of turns around. Same team, of course, but perhaps, year 3, he improves as a passer. We know what he could do with his legs. But I will agree with you to some extent because I do think Daniel Jones will make some starts next season.
Well, I obviously am on the opposite side, maybe a little personal wager between you and I. In fact, I'm going to the window. Brace yourself. The Colts to win the division, the AFC South, at plus 320 with Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback. All right, another quarterback makes his way to Seattle from Minnesota. We know that's Sam Darnold. Agrees to a 3-year, $100.5 million contract, $55 million guaranteed. Boy, he reunites with offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, who used to be his passing coach in San Francisco when they were both with the 49ers. So with that being said, what are your expectations for Sam Darnold this year in Seattle?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I think he was in the perfect storm of opportunity in Minnesota last season. That's an offense that has had so much success. It scores a lot of its touchdowns through the air and leans on the pass heavily, and it really boosted Sam Darnold. Not to mention that the defense played so well that they were almost never trailing until late in the season. And when they were, the wheels kind of fell off for Minnesota. I'm not so sure with the supporting cast in Seattle that it's going to be quite as good. We'll see. They're not done yet. They could add more pieces, but I think a little bit of a regression, maybe below average quarterback play is what we're going to get this year.
All right. Interesting. You say weapons that he has to work with because JSN is going to be his main go-to guy, at least as of right now. And you could go to the window that he will have 1,500, if not more, receiving yards. And you could get that at 10-1, Mike. 10-1. Do you like the over?
Come on, Anita. You know me. Look, I'll have some overs here as we work through this, but even at 10-1, this is way too high of a number. The NFL went to 17 games in 2021. There have been 11 instances of a player hitting that mark since that point. It's about 3 per season last year. It's a number, and especially when you consider JSN's role as a short-range target. I don't care really how many targets he gets. He's not going to get to this number unless the perfect storm happens of everything, and I just think that's a long shot. You gotta stay away here.
All right, so I'm gonna have 500 level print T-shirts up for us. All right, that like you're Mr. Under, I'm Mrs. Over. We'll see if I can get you to buy into an over at some point in time today. Let's look at running back Najee Harris. He leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers. He goes to the Chargers, a 1-year deal, $9.5 million. And he's with Harbaugh, who we know loves to run the football, create that running game so that you've got the play action for Justin Herbert. Gus Edwards was released. J.K. Dobbins is a free agent. Chances are Harris is going to be like the main back in that backfield. 1,000 rushing yards, if not more, for Najee Harris at plus 160. Mike, what say you?
I'm going to go under on this one. I can't do it. Look, I know that he's been over this all 4 seasons, but he barely got there the last 3 years. And Anita, he is the only running back, again, since the league went to 17-game season, he's the only running back that has played all 17 games, all 4 seasons, which says great durability. But also, I think, is it sustainable? Can he make it 5 years in a row? Probably not. He's 27 now, averaging under 4 yards per carry. As the roster's structured without any help, and if he stays healthy, he'll get there. But they are not done. This is a really good rookie class coming in. I suspect they're going to add a veteran or, say, a day 2 running back, and that's going to affect him for sure. So I think the safe play's under here.
All right, let's talk about some wide receivers. Devontae Adams, big bust here in New York with the Jets. But boy, I'm intrigued. I'd like to see what he can do with the Rams. The Rams are all in, right? They bring back Matthew Stafford. Devontae Adams, 2-year, $46 million deal. He'll be the number 2 behind Puka. Here's some numbers for you. 1,000 receiving yards, if not more, at plus 110. How about this? 10 receiving touchdowns at plus 150 and 8.5 receiving touchdowns, if not more, at minus 125. Are you going to take the over here, Mike? Could this be the one?
All right, get ready, Anita, because yes, I am. I'm optimistic on Devontae Adams, leaning over on the yardage. I'm at 1130. I have him with 9 touchdowns, and this is a 15-game projection. So you got to bake in some injuries for sure. I think that you're right that Puka Nacua is the number 1 receiver from a, we'll say, target and yardage standpoint, but not near the goal line. We know Devontae Adams historically a big touchdown scorer that he's used more near the goal line. We saw that last year as well. Puka Nacua is not. He has 9 touchdown catches in 28 career games, does not see a ton of end zone targets. That's just not really been his thing so far. So that's an area where Devontae Adams can shine. And by the way, we've seen this from Sean McVay offenses. We've seen it from Matthew Stafford. They will feed their main guys. I expect big-time target shares for both Nacua and Devontae Adams. So I think he has another big year left in him. I lean over on these.
All right, from one wide receiver to another, let's go to Deebo Samuel. Traded to the Commanders. Now will be on the field with Scary Terry. Jaden Daniels, man, salivating on the weapons that he's going to have. Over under 3,300.5 passing yards for Jaden Daniels. Man, this is going to be exciting to watch. Do you like the over?
Yeah, Anita, I don't always bet player props unless I feel really strongly about them. I went right to the window and bet this one immediately. Jaden Daniels over 3,300 yards. If he doesn't get hurt, and by the way, he could miss a couple games. That's normal. And still, he's going to crush this line. My projection, closer to 3,800. Expect this line to go up at some point. He had 3,568 last year, way above this line. This was the 10th pass-heaviest offense, even with a running quarterback, still the 10th pass-heaviest offense under Cliff Kingsbury. Also the second fastest moving offense, which is a reason we were optimistic about the Commanders' skill guys last year, even with the rookie quarterback, as under Cliff, they're going to move the ball quickly. So I love this one. Hammer the over.
And last but not least, let's go to DK Metcalf. Blockbuster trade sends him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it's important. We are taping this episode on Wednesday. So maybe by the time this episode airs, we will hear that maybe, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know, maybe Russell Wilson comes back. We don't know. But as of right now, we don't know who's going to be passing the ball to DK Metcalf. We do know this. He's outstanding. So here are some stats for you, or some prop bets for you. 875.5 receiving yards over under, 7.5 touchdowns over under for one DK Metcalf, who hopefully will be playing besides George Pickens. Mike Clay?
Yeah, this is a tough one. My projection's very close. Median projection's almost identical to the line. So probably not betting that one, especially with the uncertainty of quarterback right now. The touchdown number 7.5 feels too high for me. I know he used to get there a lot early in his career, but I have him at 5 right now, again, with a poor quarterback situation. So we'll go up a little bit when they fix that. But even, look, pretty good circumstances in Seattle the last few years, right? Including at times past first offenses. He scored 6, 8, and 5 the last 3 years. And we're talking about 7.5 in a new offense with question marks at quarterback and an aspiring potential superstar in George Pickens. So I would have to lean under on that one at this moment.
Mike, always so great when you join us. So happy that you joined us for our inaugural podcast, which is awesome. Love your information. Again, everybody head over to ESPN, ESPN.com, fantasy football, his projections, all the things. And I'm sure we'll have you on again, either before or after the draft, talking about the rookies that will be selected at the end of April. So Mike, thank you so much.
You got it anytime.
All right, great stuff from Mike Clay. He's awesome. And don't tell anyone else at ESPN, but might be like my favorite person over there. Let's keep that between us. All right, I do want to spend some time talking about the Giants and what they have done, or should I say, have not done in free agency. Again, we're recording this on Wednesday. I don't know, do we get news that Aaron Rodgers agrees to go to the Giants, or Russell Wilson agrees to go to the Giants, or maybe they decide to go out of those that box and they bring in somebody else that we don't even know. I don't know, Jameis Winston, somebody. Do they trade for a quarter? Who knows? But regardless, I just wonder, did Hard Knocks hurt the Giants even today? Because if you go back and not to put salt on an open wound, but I mean, it was a disaster. It was embarrassing. Like I spoke to people and scouts and agents all over the NFL who I've known for years, and they were like, in fact, you know what? True, they were calling me and Anita. What happened? What's going on? Why did the Giants even agree to this? I think they did not want to do, they have not been wanting to do Hard Knocks, like the original Hard Knocks, and they've been able to escape that for years and years and years. And I think they thought, oh, this could be a good thing, right? We control the narrative. Here's what's frightening is that the Giants actually had to give the okay in regard to the material that we saw on the Giants Hard Knocks offseason. Imagine the stuff that we did not see, right? Like, imagine the stuff that they said, oh no, that can't air, because what aired was so damn bad. So I don't know, a part of me wonders, and Giants fans, please feel free to, to comment, and I'm really curious to get your thoughts on this. You can't be thrilled with what's happened in free agency. You're probably looking forward to the draft, and there's a lot of question marks there. Like, I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are deserving of being a top 5 pick. Now, will they go in the top 5? Absolutely. Because what happens? General managers and head coaches fall in love with players, or general managers and head coaches, maybe like Shane and Dable, who feel like, ooh, their seat's a little hot. And, we need to draft a quarterback just to buy us a little bit more time, maybe an extra year or two. Because we've got to develop this player. Listen, I think the situation for the Giants is an absolute disaster. Sorry, not sorry. I've got to state how it is. But let's not just hear from me. Let's hear from one of the best Giants greats, and that's wide receiver Amani Toomer. Let's dive into it. NFL free agency, fast and frenzy. Still a lot more to come. But obviously, you played for the Giants. I worked for the Giants. Let's focus in on there. Not a lot of big splash the Giants have made this free agency. What are your thoughts on the players that they brought in and some of the players that they've lost already?
Well, I mean, they brought in a corner, they brought in a safety. I think those are positions that they need. I feel like the tackling ability overall of this defense needs to improve, and hopefully they've done that. I'm interested to see what Banks is going to do. I mean, this is a guy who had effort issues last year, and hopefully they bring in more competition so that is never going to be an option again for him to not play or not display the effort that is commensurate with the Giants starting first round pick corner. But I just feel like there's so much that needs to be built with this team and this organization that anytime they can improve on any different, there's put it this way, there's not very many position groups that the Giants are tight in. They need to improve at every area. And, oh, by the way, they need a quarterback as well. But that being aside, I feel like, they're trying to do it responsibly in terms of making this roster better. And that is through the draft, because that's the cheapest way to get good quality players. But it's interesting because they're in a position now where if they don't perform this year, there are going to be a lot of people changing their addresses in that front office. So I feel like they don't have the opportunity to 100% go through the draft. They need to use some free agency, and what they're showing right now, I don't think they made a big enough splash in free agency to really move the needle for this organization, at least in the future, the immediate future.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you. And they came in pretty middle of the pack, and maybe even a little bit better than that. I think somewhere around like 13, 14 in regard to salary cap space. I wonder, though, Amani, and you and I have had several conversations on this when we did our morning show on ESPN Radio New York, and that is, did Hard Knocks hurt this organization? Did Hard Knocks hurt Joe Shane and Brian Dable in regard to a look behind the curtain and folks out there walking away with a really bad taste in their mouth and somewhat of an embarrassment in regard to the way that front office operates?
I think it did, because what for me as a player, when I'm looking at a front office, I expect that somebody will find out many ways to win football games. If you have a quarterback, You don't have a quarterback. You have a running back. You don't have a running back. You got to be like a chef. You know, if you want to be a fish restaurant, but you're landlocked and living in Nevada, you got to figure out another way to make a tasty meal that people want to go and eat. And the fact that when, you know, this organization is like, oh, we need a great quarterback, we need this. You know, you look this year, you know, with the Eagles winning, Jalen Hurts had a great season. He was not the reason why they won that Super Bowl. Because they have a strong roster, because they have a strong running game, because they have a strong offensive line, because their special teams are very good, because they're great at tackling and they're one of the best defenses in the league. All that together made a win. And so for all these teams to be chasing this quarterback position, I get it. It's important. It's a position that can make a lot of other positions less. You don't have to be as good at all positions, but that doesn't make up for the fact that you have to put together a solid roster, regardless. And so when I see how they've approached putting together a team, I'm just like, oh my goodness, how could people not know that it's a team sport? It's not quarterback sport. It's not tennis and everybody else. That quarterbacks are playing tennis and everybody else is just sitting around there as a pawn on the board. This is a team sport, the ultimate team sport, and ultimately teams win. And you know, you look Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in our league. He lost to a quarterback that's up and coming in Jalen Hurts. But that's what football means to me, and that's what football is to people that have been around it for a long time.
Talking about quarterbacks, Daniel Jones, as we know, no longer a Giant, but is going to have an opportunity to compete in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson. I say he wins the job, and I say he has a pretty fantastic season. In fact, you can wager that the Colts are going to win their division at plus 320. What are your thoughts on Daniel Jones, and how do you think he fares in Indianapolis with Steichen?
Well, look, you look at how well former Giants players have done once they leave the Giant organization. Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram, you know, Big Cat, Love, you know, Big Cat who went on to play for the Seattle Seahawks. You know, Love, the safety out of there. There's just so many players that it's a thing now. You get a Giant player who's been mistreated and hasn't been able to be productive. Saquon Barkley, of course. And all of a sudden, there's some players out there to be gotten, and a lot of these Giants players are going to be looked at as hot commodities, and you're going to see a lot more of these guys moving to other teams and playing better. And that's a bad sign for the New York Giants. It's a bad sign that our players have to go other places to reach their full potential.
Let's talk about the NFC East, right? Because we know we've been sitting here talking about what the Giants have or have not been doing. But boy, the Commanders, Amani, they bring in Deebo Samuel. He's going to be playing opposite Scary Terry McLaurin. Also, they bring in arguably one of the best left tackles in Tunsil. Can't wait to see what Jaden Daniels does this season. Commanders to win the NFC East is 2-1. The Eagles, fire sale on the defensive side of the ball. But in Howie, Eagles fans trust, right? Could this be a reset, a reboot, considering they won the Super Bowl and they're getting ready for 2026, 2027? That's a possibility. And then, of course, the Giants are the Giants. I like the Commanders. The Commanders to win this division at 2-1 is where I'm flowing. What say you?
The one thing about the NFC East is usually the team that is projected to be last usually ends up first. Of course, for the last couple of years, it hasn't been that way because the Eagles have just been dominating. But traditionally, it's always the dark horse team that everybody overlooks. I don't think the Commanders are going to be a dark horse. The way they played this year and how electric Jaden Daniels has been, it's going to be hard. I'm going to love to see how Scary Terry and Deebo get along. They're kind of the same players in a sense that neither of them are like speed burners. Neither of them are like, I think Terry is much better of a route runner with better hands, but Deebo is like a running back once you get him the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize them. You know, there's talent and then there's utilization of talent. That's going to be going to figure out how that whole thing works. I just feel like there's a lot of older players on that team that are getting their second chance, and I would like to see how they perform in their second opportunity to really kind of turn back the clock and be their younger selves. I'm thinking of the linebacker who was with the Seahawks for a long time. I don't know why his name's escaping me.
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner. That's exactly what I was thinking about. And I was thinking, he's getting older. I don't know if I don't know how well he's going to perform. I don't know if he's going to perform as well as he did this year. People get old quick, especially when you go deep in the playoffs. And we're going to see how the Commanders do. I mean, they had a special run last year, but it's hard to go back to back in this league with two great seasons where you're going from being just another team to being the hunted, because now everybody looks at the Commanders as, ooh, we can make a name off ourselves playing against this team.
Amani, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Anita. And keep up the good work, and can't wait to be back on.
You got it. All right, I want to thank our special guest, and I want to thank you for tuning into our inaugural podcast. Again, On the Mark with Anita Marks. We're going to drop each and every week the hottest topics in sports with a little twist, a little turn. I like to call it a green bow, not a red bow, because we're here to help you win some money. And that is putting a gambling twist on everything we talk about. So really excited about that. Also, we've got more content, more picks, more plays coming your way on all the things. Make sure you subscribe, whether it's Apple, Spotify, all the things, and of course on the YouTube channel On the Mark Show. So make sure you do that. Also, we want to thank again our title sponsor, and that is 500 Level. All these fantastic t-shirts you see me wear all over ESPN, and of course I'll be wearing them each and every episode here on the Mark. And each and every week we give you a 500 Level 500 play, and that is a wager that you can make that's 500 if not better, and that is your level 500, because you want to live large, you want to live like a legend, and you can. How's this for this week's level 500 wager? We know Davante Adams now with the Rams, again arguably one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL with Adams and Puka. You could wager right now that the Rams are going to score a touchdown in every single regular season game, all 17 games, at 10-1. Okay, I'm going to put some coin on that. Are you kidding me? Davante Adams along with Puka and Matthew Stafford back in LA. This is your 500 level wager of the show. So make sure you do put that in. We're really excited for what's to come. Next week, it's going to be all about March Madness. As we know, on Sunday is Selection Sunday. So we're going to launch, we're going to upload, we're going to share with you a bracketology podcast. We're going to go through every region. We're going to break it down. I'm going to give you the picks, the plays, not only in your pool and your bracket, but also what to wager on. And we're really excited. One of the best in the business, Joe Lunardi, is going to join us for our second podcast coming your way next week. So stay tuned for that. Then the following week, we got Major League Baseball opening day on March 27th. We're going to get you prepared for that. And then before we know it, the Masters will be here the week of April 10th. So really excited for what's to come. We're going to be talking also the Triple Crown, getting you ready for the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, as well as the Belmont. Stick with us through the summer. I guarantee you're going to have some fun watching and listening to the podcast. And hopefully at the end of the day, we'll help you win some money. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank our sponsor as well as our guest. Everybody have a great day. And make sure you pay attention to what's going on coming your way over the weekend. I'm going to have picks for you for the PGA Championship as well as college basketball conference championship games all throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So stay tuned. Make sure you watch and look for me on Instagram and X. Have a great day, everybody.